Maussan Television. Buena televisión.
Good morning, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to your home. This is our channel where we are about to begin with the nationally and internationally broadcast a press conference that will help us understand advanced technology from an unknown origin. We'd like to thank each of you, and I'd like to welcome each of our guests, like Congressman Berles, who's a representative of the state of Missouri from the United States. Thank you, Congressman Berles, for being here. I would also like to thank Dr. Stephen Greer. He's founder of the SETI Institute for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. I would also like to welcome Daniel Sheehan, a world-known lawyer, a constitutional lawyer. He's a political activist and an educator. Welcome, Daniel. Likewise, we would also like to welcome our Italian investigators, Pier Giarger. He's one of the most renowned UFO investigators in Italy. Welcome. And we would also like to welcome from Europe, Nacho Rojo, who's a Spanish investigator, and he's the director of the channel Hidden Truth. We would also like to welcome certain guests which you will eventually meet. We're talking about the eyewitnesses from Colombia, William Zuñiga and Jose Restrepo, who are the eyewitness testimony, who took the video and who brought it to Mexico's Autonomous University for its analysis. Welcome. I would also like to thank our scientists and investigators from Mexico's Autonomous University, the UNAM, who are here with us, like David Avila and Rodolfo Garrido. And of course, we would like to welcome our director of Maussan Television, our journalist Jaime Maussan, who we welcome excitedly. Thank you. Thank you. I got my own mic. Thank you. Very well. Let us begin. I would like to introduce to you to our friend. This is the Buga Sphere. It's a sphere that is in hands of civil society for the first time. It was filmed while it was levitating over the city of Buga in Colombia, very close to Cali. And that, fortunately, the people who were filming this sphere saw it descend just a few feet away, and they were able to recover it. They went over to the spot and picked it up. And that's how we know that there's no doubt whatsoever that it's the same sphere that was filmed. It's a sphere that has been tested preliminarily in Mexico by scientists, Mexican scientists. I would like to clear that Rodolfo Garrido, who's an engineer, dual engineers from the University of Mexico. I would like to clear up that David Avila nor Rodolfo Garrido actively work at the UNAM right now, but they are high-level investigators. And they're going to give the results that were done at the UNAM. But it's a before and it's an after. Because if we can extract this type of technology and reverse engineer it, thanks to the support of Mexican engineers and people like Dr. Stephen Greer, like Congressman Berles, that give us the honor of being here with us. We thank you so much for being here with us. Same as Daniel Sheehan. We are so excited to have you here with us, such an important lawyer. Thank you for being here with us. Moreover, I am very excited, I am very proud to come to this point in my career where finally I can exhibit an anomalous object in my own perspective is a non-human device. We still have to do more analysis on it. We still have to prove it. Nevertheless, what we have found thus far suggests to me the possibility that it's a non-human device. And if we can prove this scientifically, we've taken a larger step for the acceptance that we are not alone in this universe, that we are being visited, and that we are many of different societies, civilizations that exist out there in the universe. I think the time is now to accept this reality. Congressman Berles is at the head with Congressman Ana Paulina Luna, the efforts that have a lot of importance at congressional level. Believe me that there are different interests, and this is not easy at all, but we're giving it our best shot as a society, as a human race. And this is the reason why I'm asking the support from different parts of society, different parts of science, so that we can understand this fully. So we're going to start by looking at the videos that make this discovery so important. I personally went to Colombia for these videos. If I wouldn't have met José Arias Restrepo personally, and if he wouldn't told me that he ran towards the fear and picked it up, I would have never traveled to Colombia. When I realized this, it was obvious that there's an investigation pending there, a great opportunity. This is the video of the sphere that was filmed by Maria Bedoya, who went out to feed her cattle. Can we have sound on the video, please? We got sound on the video? That's the video that she filmed initially. At the distance, we can see the sphere floating through the air, and you can see a green reflection on the top part of the sphere. And this seems to be an important component, and it varies in different colors and tones. A little bit after that, the sphere touched the high-tension voltage cable, and it fell to the ground. This is the first video, which is extraordinary. And the second video that we have was originally filmed by José Arias Restrepo, a Colombian and a friend. We can see that this is a cross. I was there. And he was filming at a distance in the township of Buga. The question is, why was the sphere there? What's its objective? We don't know. Was it investigating? Was it surveilling? Well, now we know that there's sensors inside, that there's fiber optics, that the equator of the sphere is surrounded by fiber optics. It could have descended anywhere. It could have descended downtown, and somebody else could have seen it as well. And it might have been recovered by someone else who would have given it to the military or the police. But fortunately for us, the sphere fell in an isolated region where José Restrepo was present. He was treasure hunting at the moment with a metal detector. There are certain detectors that David Vélez produces to discover treasures, archaeologic artifacts, who is a cousin of José Restrepo. And that's the reason why José Restrepo gave the sphere to his cousin. And then his cousin told us what happened. He kept it at home for 2 or 3 days. And when the sphere descended, it weighed 2 kilograms. And then the weight increased to 6 kilograms, and then it increased to 9 kilograms. And finally, when I had my hands on the sphere, the weight was 10 kilograms, which has been constant ever since then. This was on the outskirts of Buga, which is called Bonito. This is Don José Restrepo, the person who picked up the sphere from the ground. And this is exactly where the sphere descended. He's also going to explain to us what he felt when he picked it up. He said there was 1 or 2, or it was maximum 3 minutes on the ground, but what the sphere did to the terrain was dehydrated, which proves that the sphere is emanating some type of energy, not necessarily a negative type energy. That's to say, this sphere is not radioactive. If we could hear the audio, somebody tells him, how much does it weigh? And he says around 2 kilograms, and he picks it up. After he picks it up. So I'd like to welcome Don José Restrepo, who's the eyewitness who picked up the sphere in Buga, in Colombia. Good morning, everyone.
Hello.
Testing. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for this invitation. My name is José Restrepo. I'm the person who found the sphere. It's very exciting to be here, but I'm nervous at the same time. I'm nervous because obtaining this sphere is like obtaining a signal which is aware, a signal which is conscious, a signal which is peaceful. And I also feel proud because I gave it to David, who's an engineer and who gave it to Maussan. So I feel proud because I told Mr. Maussan, you are a very important person and you can transmit this reality to the world, because there's been other spheres that have been kept secret. So this is unique. And for a citizen, I obtained it. I had physical maladies, but it was just temporal. When I picked it up, my mouth dried up and I had a metallic taste in my mouth. And there are other videos that said that I almost lost my life, that I lost my tooth, that I lost my hair, but those are only rumors, of course. Here I am giving eyewitness testimony. Thank you very much. Why was it that you face the public for the first time right now? He's a shy person, but he allowed us to share his name so that the world knows who found that sphere. Why didn't you want to be made public? I have 2 children. I have 2 sons, and they don't like too much attention. I think it would be best to be discreet, but when I saw the investigation being done by Mexico's Autonomous University by Rodolfo Garrido, I decided that it was something serious, it was something real. So when I told David, go ahead and ask Maussan if he's interested in obtaining this sphere. It's like a treasure. Do you think it's dangerous? Yes, I do think it's dangerous. Even treasure hunting for gold can also be dangerous as well. By just obtaining something, because the government will show up all of a sudden asking for that material, archaeologically speaking. Now imagine something like this. It's something unique that we have it. What happened to you physically when you were carrying the sphere home? Well, there's a picture where I'm carrying it on my belly, and that night I felt nausea, I threw up, I felt bad, and I went to the doctor, but I did not want to tell him the truth. You didn't tell him the truth? No, I didn't want to tell the doctor the truth. I remained quiet. I told him it was some allergy or something. And how do you feel right now? Right now I feel fine. I feel happy because we're transmitting this information. So the video is authentic? Of course it's authentic, and you can see it with the close-up. When it was right next to it, it started humming. The sphere started humming, and that's when I turned around and looked at it. It was the humming that called my attention, and that's when I started filming. It was around 8 minutes, and it was cut, but we were changing from one place to another, trying to get a better shot. So, number one, there's magnetic fields. Number two, you have high voltage lines nearby. And these high voltage lines transmit electricity at 10,000 volts. So what happened? The sphere got too close to the lines. It got too close to the cables that apparently were 10,000 volts. There's a small spark, and yes, it was like burned over, because I saw the spark, and I saw how it impacted the sphere. I listened to the short circuit, because it was more or less a few feet away from here. There are certain people who say that the other sphere is different from this one. No, it's the same exact sphere. It's the same sphere that was filmed. It's the same sphere that I picked up. It's the same one. I was getting ready to go, and when I realized all the grass was dried up. It was sitting on the grass for 15 minutes, and it dehydrated the grass. Well, we realized that the land was dehydrated the day after, actually. And I put my hand on top of the soil. Were you afraid? Well, yeah, I was afraid, but I was also curious. When I got a hold of it, it was so impressive that I did get a little bit scared, but I also felt internal peace. What? Yes, I felt internal peace, like tranquility on the inside. At home, there's a bed, and it was emanating feelings of tranquility, of peace. Did you ever think that you would be here in Mexico doing an internationally televised press conference? Never. I never imagined this. I'd like to thank you for being here with us. No, I'd like to thank all of you here. Thank you for being brave. Thank you for being courageous. What do you think of all the people that discredit this? Well, yes, there are certain people who say that they had it made and they send it to you by mail. I was just laughing. And that you bought it on Amazon and they send it via Federal Express. And that's the exact same sphere that I found. It's the same one that was filmed. It's beautiful, actually. I do feel proud. We feel proud for you as well. Thank you very much. I got my own microphone. Thank you. Just as a small parenthesis, for those who think that this type of discovery is authentic or not, and that there are Colombians that came to Mexico and that there's an official investigation going on at Mexico's Autonomous University. There is no monetary exchange between José, Maussan Television, to investigate this phenomenon. Our only objective is the truth. Is that right, José? You're absolutely right. What we're interested in is the investigation. Engineers like David said, well, we should transfer it to Maussan and they could do the necessary studies over there. Thank you. Thank you, Jose. No, thank you, Mr. Maussan. Let's move forward. The second video, I'd like to clarify the following. Even though it's been analyzed by 3 independent laboratories, there's no physical alteration. It wasn't done by CGI or artificial intelligence. We don't know who the author of this video is. We know that his synonym is Mario, who also lives in the same township of Buga. This is a different sphere that was filmed, and we need to authenticate it, which we haven't been able to do thus far. But if this video is authentic, it's of utmost importance because it was filmed on May 7th on the outskirts of Buga, in the opposite side of the town where the first Buga Sphere was filmed. Some people theorize that it was looking for the other sphere. That's what many people have expressed. It's also an extraordinary video to watch. Go ahead. Keep rolling. And now I would like to show you, I'd like to present to you David Berles. They call him the Potro. He used to be a singer, and that's why they call him El Potro. I would like to personally thank him in front of you, in front of our world audience, of the trust that he put in me to deliver this sphere to me. And as my son says, without asking anything in return, absolutely nothing. And he and I have an agreement from the start that all tests and investigation of this artifact will be open and will be completely transparent so that the world will know. We're not going to cover it up so that we reveal this news a year or 2 years from now. We wanted everyone to participate, different aspects of society, scientists, and everybody to be involved in the investigation of this phenomenon. I would like to thank David, the trust that he put in me. Good afternoon. I would like to thank God for this opportunity. I'd like to thank Jaime Maussan and Nacho Rojo and Mexico's Autonomous University and our guest speakers as well. Thank you for being here. The person who found the sphere is Jose. He's my first cousin. I really thank him for having called me. I work for a company called Germany, and he had no one else to call. He called me direct, and this is an incredible discovery. I'd like to thank all of our investigative journalists that are present here with us, all of the scientists from the UNAM. I would like to say thank you to Rodolfo Garrido and for Arturo, who put me in touch with Jaime Maussan directly. To talk to Maussan is almost impossible. I think he receives thousands of messages per day, and he has no time to read them all. So it was almost impossible to reach him. So an investigator who I'd like to remain anonymous contacted me from Mexico. It was this person who made the video public. It became viral, and I started receiving criticism. Well, my company started receiving criticisms. My company is called Germany, and they were being criticized for uploading. And what was also incredible regarding this sphere is that when it was delivered to me by Jose, it only weighed 2 kilograms. We picked it up in a small van. 5 of us went over to pick it up, and we were all dressed in white, and we were covered in iron. Basically, they're anti-reflectory. They're for protection for electronics more than anything. You know that static damages electronic circuits, so we had protection to not contaminate the sphere with static, not contaminate the circuits. We picked up the sphere and we were very careful because he told us that he felt nauseous, that he threw up, and many things that were being published, many rumors that were not true, and it became viral, and he wasn't able to operate his cell phone anymore. It wouldn't turn on anymore, and it's the first time that my cell phone doesn't turn on. So let's dedicate to the investigation of the sphere. I don't think that the implications of the sphere's presence are negative. I think the presence is here so that we wake up, so that we do the necessary tests, so we do the necessary investigations and take them to the necessary labs. I have a small electronic lab at Germany, and they discriminated our company, saying that it was a garage. And I'm not used to critics like ufologists are. It's a serious company, actually, and there are many fans of the UFO world here who are here to criticize as well. So there's two avenues. So I transported the sphere to my company, to Germany, and we did electronic tests on it, impedance, magnetic fields, type of static, and it did emanate a frequency, 125, and it did represent an antenna that transmitted signals like a radio, which varied from 80 to 120 to 75 back to 80. It's a different type of communication that isn't seen in our radio waves. So I was becoming startled because we're engineers and we know a lot about electronics. So it raised our interest when there were certain anomalies. Engineer Arturo calls me up and tells me that I weigh it once again. When I put it on the scale, it didn't weigh 2 kilograms anymore. The weight had increased to 6.65 kilograms. This is incredible. I was truly impressed because the sphere was increasing in weight. That means that we quarantined it for 35 days. We quarantined the sphere for 35 days with no contamination whatsoever. Only people with duly protected suits with the appropriate instruments could get close to it, and we realized all of the measurements that the sphere was putting out. And that's where we started being contacted by UFO researchers and journalists to offer us money. They tried to bribe us, and I'd like to make this public. They tried to bribe me directly from Spain through 3 different organizations, NGO companies, which I will not say their name, it would be negative. And they offered me a great amount of money for the sphere. And actually, this isn't a piece of bread that you sell at the bakery. I said, it's not for sale, period. And that's how I answered each of those petitions. And Maussan says, you're acting ethically. And then in Brazil, they also tried to bribe me, an organization that works for the Air Force. They told me that I'm responsible and that this is very important for them. If I could please donate the sphere to them, and with due respect, with legal counsel, it was just borrowing it and making the necessary tests, and they would give it back. I knew they weren't going to give it back, so I became afraid, and that's when criticisms, when they started threatening me, literally. They called me up and said, if you don't deliver the sphere, such and such is going to happen to you. I have an audio that I recorded where somebody was threatening me during 8 minutes, saying that we are the owners of this sphere. This is very serious. Please give the sphere back. This is our property from 2011. It's our artifact. We reversed engineered it. And what we are able to do it is levitate it, and it flew 350 meters away from our territory. It's ours. Please give it back. If I didn't have the support of Jaime Maussan, I would have given it back. They said it with such truth. They were so transparent. They gave me their numbers, everything. And when I told Maussan about this, he told me that they're going to keep it in the end. So Maussan said, don't give it to them whatsoever. I didn't want to deliver this sphere to anyone. This was like a trophy for me that my cousin found, because we're treasure hunters. We're artifact hunters. I don't want to say archaeology, but we're artifact hunters, and we like to share all of our discoveries with different metal detectors, and we were going to donate it to a museum as well. Well, the objective, as any human being, when a non-human artifact is found, you reach many different conclusions. If you needed to reverse engineer it, maybe we could do it from the reversal of magnetic fields as well. And we're the first one. We're Germany. We're the people who invented these types of detectors as a company, and we wanted to give the world this type of discovery. We weren't able to realize any definite tests on it because we realized that it's a different device. It had no cables, no electronics, nothing that we could analyze. The only way of investigating it was cutting it in two, and we didn't want to do that. We didn't want to cut it in two, split it in half, because we could have lost that technology altogether. At the bottom part of the sphere, it's got a small burnt part, which burned right through the aluminum. It's a high-density aluminum with when we ran the hardness test, and we tried to recover a small scrape of this aluminum, and we were not able to obtain a sample. So we realized that this was a fine artifact. We didn't want to cut it in half until Mr. Maussan got in touch with us via Artura. Maussan got in touch with us, and he asked us, what possibility is there to have us analyze the sphere, just to analyze it here in this country, and that's it, and we'll give it back and put it back in the museum. When Jaime Maussan visited Colombia, my computer had been hacked so many times. I was hacked altogether. Everybody was spying on me. Actually, it was very crazy because I felt threatened by different people from different countries. One person would say that this is fake, another person would say that this is theirs. And I'm very grateful to Mr. Maussan for his invitation to Mexico. So what my friend said, this was absolutely eccentric. We knew this was a non-human artifact. When the sphere descended, I realized that this sphere is important. And Jaime Maussan says, I'll take all your worries away. Just give it to me and I'll do the necessary tests right here, and you'll stop with all the threats and you'll stop with all the hacking. And when they realized who Jaime Maussan is, a serious investigator, they said, go ahead, let him analyze it. And when I told my friends, they thought I was joking. But when Mr. Maussan saw the videos, I told him that I'm not going to share with anyone. And he asked me, how much do you think it's worth? And I said, it's not worth anything. We need to investigate it. So take it with you to Mexico. I have absolute trust in you as UFO researchers than the Colombian UFO researchers. And with respect, I gave the sphere to Jaime Maussan for further study. Thank you, Mr. Maussan. Thank you. I got my own mic. Thank you. Thank you, David. What he didn't mention is that we have a commitment to keep this investigation open. And let's now look at the third video. Yes, there are 3 videos, which is one of the more important ones of the 3. And I'm going to explain to you why. This was filmed by a different person who wants to remain anonymous. Not anymore. His name is William Antonio Zuñiga. This video was filmed on June 7th over the township of Yumbo in the Caucasus Valley in Colombia. This sphere, as we can see, presents the same type of physical traits. It's identical to the Buga Sphere. It's got the same equator, and you can also see patterns on the top part. There's no doubt about that. So what I'm asking myself is, maybe they're there to show us this evidence. That's just a hypothesis. It's hypothetical. As you can see, we were able to see the equator of the sphere, the black dots that encircle the sphere. There they are. It's the same sphere. Well, the same exact design. So they're similar spheres than the one we have in our possession. It probably has the ability to levitate as well. Do we have the comparison, please? Do we have the comparison of both videos, please? Go ahead. As you can see, and it's rotating, as you can notice. This is the Buga Sphere on the right, and you have the Yumbo sphere on the left. So it's an unprecedented evidence. We have 2 different spheres with the same traits, and they both rotate at a high rate of speed. Now I'd like to William Antonio Zuñiga, who personally decided to make this public. William Zuñiga. Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to start off by, I didn't want to show my face on camera. I didn't want to be made public. I'm a common worker. I work during the day, and I ran into this phenomenon, and I tried to record it with a Samsung device, one of the latest Samsung devices, and to my surprise, in part of that region, it's not strange to see anomalous objects at night. At the township of Yumbo, there's high visibility of unidentified aerial phenomenon, but this is not globally known. I told Jaime that I live close to the township of Yumbo. I have a ranch, and there's hills behind my house, and that's the reason I was able to film it. One of my friends told me that he always wanted to see a UFO, and he was frozen when he watched it. My colleagues are contractors. They could lose their jobs altogether if they're made public. That's the site where the sighting was made. This is a sugarcane plantation right here. It's very close to the city of Cali. And you can hear the sound that the sphere is making when it gets close to the sugarcane. That's how it sounds. We thought it was birds because in that sector there are birds that fly away. When we heard the whoosh, I saw the sphere going up from the sugarcane crops. And by the time I brought up my phone and I started recording, the sphere had already approximated some high-tension cable wires. I don't know why I was interested in the lines. Then it descends like 10 meters from the ground. We could see it very clearly. I tried to focus in on it, and then it goes down into the sugarcane field. It makes a whooshing sound, and there's different sounds that are being made, but there's outside sounds, but there's also the sound that the sphere is making when it makes friction against the sugarcane crop. And while it's rotating, while I'm filming it, I can see the ring around the sphere. Once I saw the ring, after I filmed it, I was a little bit preoccupied, and I tried to look for it. I tried to reach Jaime Maussan anyway, unsuccessfully. But I remembered that there was a similar object that appeared in Buga a month earlier, and I realized that it was Germany. I Googled it. So I sent him a WhatsApp message telling him that I wanted to make this video public, but that the only condition is that it reach Jaime Maussan, because we also wanted it to be analyzed by scientists from Mexico's Autonomous University. So I called David Berles up. David called Jaime up. We shared the video. We waited a few days because we also sent it to Italian researchers who analyzed it with precise results regarding the image, which was not made artificially. They analyzed the cables, and I didn't want to show myself on camera, but since my name wasn't going to be made public, then I said, go ahead. But it was only after a while that I obtained the courage to say my name in public. It's incredible. Having this sphere in your hands is absolutely incredible. Right, Jaime? You're a contractor, correct? Yes, I'm a contractor of several companies. You got nothing to do with the phenomenon? Absolutely not. I don't even have social media at all. I don't have a Twitter account or anything. Were you bothered when they told you it was not authentic? Yes, of course. I admire Engineer Garrido a lot. It's one of the most respected universities throughout Latin America, and people are still talking. Did you know David previously? Did you know Jose previously? No, I didn't know either of them. I know them thanks to you, basically. I tried to contact you, but that was impossible, and I Googled up the Germany and Buga. And that's when I sent him a message, and he answered 20 minutes later. The Colombian people know that you're the author? No, they don't know it till right now, till this very instant. I'm a discreet person. I didn't even tell my wife about it. Someone said, don't tell anyone till it's official, till we have the Italian investigation. Even if I told my wife, she wouldn't believe it anyhow. And I did previous trips to Mexico, and now she's opening her mind, finally. She didn't believe you at first? Well, she's starting to believe, okay. And what I tell Jaime and his team, I was surprised to meet a large team who is fully prepared here. I have an old device, an old mobile device, and I gave it to Giorgio, who did the investigation, and they're also downloading everything that is there, all the metadata. But you think the video is authentic? 100%. And you think that one is the best filmed videos. What type of phone did you use to film it? This one right here, it's a Samsung S24, last generation. Thanks to the Samsung S24, I was able to record and focus in. Were you worried? Were you scared? No, not really. I was excited. When did you become scared? When I saw it up close at home, because you don't realize the implications when you watch it on screen. But when you watch it up close, I did become preoccupied. I saw the small perforations, I saw the ring, and it's got like a stroboscopic effect. And when I zoomed in on it, it gave me the certainty that it rotates counterclockwise. But I could tell that it rotates because I have special research equipment to measure the revolution of an object, and I do it with a stroboscopic lamp to realize how fast it's spinning. And that's the same exact effect that we see on video, is the stroboscopic effect, where you see the perforations. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jaime. Thank you for joining us here today and from coming all the way down here. Now I would like to formally welcome Rodolfo Garrido, who's a dual engineer. He has become the voice of this investigation. I'm going to ask him to share his results with us and to share his contacts with us so that you can get in touch with him, so that people who are witnessing this press conference, qualified scientists who want to participate as part of this investigation and who think that they can contribute something positively, can get in touch directly with Engineer Garrido. We got in touch with Mexico's autonomous university. We made an agreement with them to have them make the necessary research and analysis. I would also like to add that the UNAM, the university, only did the tests. They're not participating any other way. We only asked them to do the necessary tests at the university. And as Rodolfo Garrido will confirm, the results are absolutely extraordinary. Welcome, Rodolfo. Thank you. Before anything, I'd like to clarify the following. I'm a representative. I don't have that level of being the representative of the university. Actually, I'm part of it. It's our alma mater, my alma mater. Mexico's Autonomous University has the wisest investigators, and it's thanks to that that Mexico is moving forward, that there are investigations that are worthwhile and technologies that are being discovered. There's only a few people that you can count on one hand. So with due respect to Mexico's Autonomous University, I would like to share all of the results from the investigations that were made in situ. By the way, they have official credentials. They're one of the best investigative bodies out of this continent. They do it like a scientist does it, like an investigator does it, with a proper theory, and I'd like to thank Mexico's university for this. This is an order. It's 5 different studies that were made, and we're going to go into detail eventually. We're going to go by one by one. It's the reference points and magnetic fields. Before anything, and I'd like to say this, that our research organized this in a certain order. The sphere was divided in 3 parts. The north pole of the sphere, the equator of the sphere, or the middle part of the sphere, and the southern part of the sphere as well. And that's when we began our research on the sphere. The first study that we realized is a magnetic field research, if it had one. So first off, we analyzed it with a gasometer. We have all the results here in the different diagrams. We analyzed it at different points of the sphere, up top, on the bottom, in the middle. But there's zero magnetic field, which is emanating right now. We can also see it in this diagram as well. And then we approximated a magnet. When we approximated the magnet to the sphere, the gasometer also started measuring in different parts of the sphere. As you can tell regarding these diagrams, in the final results, it didn't present any changes, important changes regarding static. I'm presenting the results as such, as the researchers from Mexico's Autonomous University delivered to us. Nothing has been altered or changed. This is different positions. You can see the measurements. There's a zero magnetic field. Very well. And the other important part is to establish the hardness, how solid is the sphere. And we did specific tests on hardness. He did organized tests, and every 3 centimeters, he marked a different position, and he was measuring the hardness and was recording each of the readings. In the long term, we realized that these readings are stable, which didn't present many differences. Nothing out of the normal, out of the regular for this scientist. They also made certain measurements on the equator of the sphere, and nothing called our attention. Reason for which this says that the research study that is being done by the University of Mexico didn't find anything relevant. So now we're going to do a metallurgical analysis on the sphere. We marked 4 different zones, one at the northern hemisphere, one at the southern hemisphere, and one at the equator. We polished them to be able to reach the first layer of the metal. Let's go to the first image. This is the sandpaper that we use to sand the sphere to be able to reach the first layer. The type of equipment that was used to polish these certain zones was a regular polisher. And we realized that there's different thicknesses around the sphere. That means the northern hemisphere is thicker than the southern hemisphere. In fact, the central part has got different metallurgical properties than the southern and northern hemispheres. In the southern hemisphere, for example, same as in the northern hemisphere, they found a specific type of aluminum. But towards the center of the sphere, we found a different component. Possibly, we're saying that the difference in thickness is due because of the engraving of the sphere. The sphere has certain symbols on it, and it seems like it was engraved. This is the reason why it's got different thickness. We found perforations, which is like draining the sphere. We drained the sphere in sand as such, and we see certain anomalies on the sphere after we did this. And then there's something that is quite interesting. When we started researching the central part of the sphere, we began to realize that there are certain cracks and that there was something inside those cracks. We would have to view it up close. And then the scientist said that there's something inside the cracks. And we got samples, 6 milligrams of samples from the sphere, which we put under an electron microscope. And what we saw was motivating. It was a discovery that we never imagined. Nevertheless, we discovered the following. What you're witnessing right here. Fiber optics at different diameters. But if there's any doubt that these are fiber optics, then we took the fiber optic to the electron microscope and we measured the diameter of the fiber optics and the composition. And the composition talks about oxalate, silicate, and zinc. These are the 3 components that it's made of, the fiber optic, which is regular of which normal fiber optics are made of. We also saw a coating that enveloped the metal. It was like a polymer coating. We have the image. We also analyzed this coating, and we also analyzed the materials that the coating was made of. The polymer was analyzed, and it's made of carbon, nitrogen, and oxygen. So the fiber optics, what's inside the fiber optics, is nothing new. It goes hand in hand with what we know about fiber optics, and it's present within the Buga Sphere. A little bit later, we also ran some tests on the surface, which gave us the following results. In one way or another, it tells us that it's less thick in the northern hemisphere. As you can see, this fiber optic is within those cracks that are in the equator. There are fiber optics within the cracks. And then we introduced a laser beam into the fiber optics to see if the light would reflect off of any surface. And there was no reflection whatsoever, which is good news for me. And I will tell you why a little bit later. We also obtain different compositions, metallurgical compositions in the southern and northern hemisphere, and it varies. And we did luminescence tests as well, introducing a laser beam where there's no reflection of light on the inside. The sphere cools down very quickly. When we drained it, it dropped in temperature very quickly, but we realized that the metal basically dissolves as well. We realized that the polymer can't go above 76 degrees centigrade because it would come apart altogether. The optic fibers would basically fall apart. So the sphere's temperature does not reach the higher temperatures. I would like to thank the Maximum Study House. I'd like to say thank you to Mexico's Autonomous University. This gives us the first solid step, and the next step is not going to be done randomly. We're going to base ourselves on different institutions, different research studies, so that we obtain scientific results. We want to make tests on the fiber optics, and we want to obtain different results. If there's different diameters on each fiber, then each one has its own function. Everything from communication to satellite communication as well. Reason for which I would like to thank Mexico's Autonomous University for letting me participate in this event. Please don't change anything on this report. It's got to be maintained whole. Try not to improvise on this report. This is the reason why I am thankful to everyone. What do the results tell you, Rodolfo? Well, many things. It has a first name and a last name. What is it? A technological sphere. Yeah, fiber optics is not anything, and the variation in diameters are used for different purposes. One is used for communication and the other is used for something else. Who do you think manufactured it? I have no idea, Jaime. Is there a lot more to investigate? Yes, there's a lot more if you allow me to do the necessary research. Thank you very much. Now, we would like to welcome one of the scientists who has been involved from the beginning. His name is David Avila Roldan. He's an engineer and an expert in metallurgy. He manufactures car parts. He manufactures parts for aircraft. He manufactures parts for railroad, and he's got 50 years of experience. He's an expert in the field that could tell us about the thickness of the sphere, and he's got specific results. He's got the results of the temperature tests that were made on the sphere as well. Welcome. Thank you very much. Good afternoon to all of you. My name is David Avila Roldan. I'm a chemical engineer from Mexico's Metropolitan University. And I'm going to talk about the physical evidence and the tests that were made. They're non-invasive tests that we realized. It's important to mention this. Can we have the images on screen, please? Go ahead. So the main objective of this research and the tests that we conducted is to identify what type of technology was used to fabricate this sphere. And we need to know about the materials, as Engineer Garrido anticipated. We already evaluated this. We already did this verification in labs of the university, but we also did it here as well. I would like to clarify that each of these tests were done preliminarily, previous to and after that, the university were more specific to details that we recommended. We also need to know what techniques, what manufacturing techniques were used to create the sphere, as well as the different tools. So we came up with an experiment with 13 different studies and 3 additional ones to prove the results, to prove the hypothesis that we had at the beginning. The radiation, the nuclear energy radiation, gave us 0.12 cybers per hour. This means that we have no trouble at coming close to the sphere. It's not dangerous because it's way below the levels of what might be dangerous radioactively speaking by other organizations. We also measured the electrical field, and the result was 0 volts per meter. We also measured the influx, the magnetic influx, and the result of measuring magnetic influx was 0.0 microteslas. That means that there is no electromagnetic energy that is being emanated from this sphere. We also did a preliminary analysis on the physical traits because it's necessary to evaluate how it looks if we want to understand how it was made. So we look at it physically and we found the following. There's a severe porosity in the northern hemisphere, and there's a regular porosity in the southern hemisphere. But we also realize that there's a line or a possible division line between both hemispheres, which is located at the equator, and it's not completely parallel, it's not at the center of the sphere. This led us to the following conclusions. As it corresponds to the physical traits when you drain it with sand, because of that level of porosity that we mentioned previously, we consider that that's the process by which it was made. We realized that in the equator, there are certain points, and they're not made of metal specifically, where we suggested to stop that study right there, and we observed that this was highly relevant because these small dots have a small polymer which is integrated, which has already been confirmed. A lot of the symbols and the writings that you see on the sphere correspond to something that was done by hand. Somebody did it by hand first in order to make the designs that are on the sphere. We still have to study this part even further. In conclusion, we realize that it's not a technology that was expected. Maybe it was done with CNC, or perhaps it was made with some other type of machinery. No, negative. It's done through a simple process, which is also complex at the same time, due to its chemical composition. More than ever. I'm going to go into details further down the line. This is what I was mentioning to you previously. What we already saw and talked about. And the chemical composition is of utmost importance, because we have a silicate presence. There are high levels of silicates, and the traits that it reflects is that of something that's been through a foundry, where the fusion temperature decreases on one hand and the fluidity increases on the other hand. This means that for molds that are hard to use because of their geometry, makes that the material flow perfectly through that mold. Nevertheless, it's not the only trait that we discovered. As a finished piece, it gives it a thermal protection. In fact, it also helps it maintain the electrical arc. Could you please help me with the next slide? Thank you. Regarding chemical composition of copper, we realized that there were certain dots on what appears to be a chip. We realized that it's made of aluminum with a high purity level. Not high purity, because we'd be talking of 99.99%, but without a doubt, with this type of purity, it's used in industry, specifically due to its high electrical and thermal conductivity. They use it to manufacture electronic components in the car industry and in the airline industry as well. Pardon me, we're running a little bit short on time. What are the most important points, the variations that we obtained, the inconsistencies in the hardness? I was there. If we could see the results, please. We got 1 minute left. One of the inconsistencies that we detected is the hardness level. At first, we measured on a scale, on a Brimel scale, and we had an average of 333 units of Brinell units. Afterwards, we tested the magnetic field, and that magnetism caused an uproar. At the lab, we still can't fathom the results. Certain inconsistencies that were made after the magnetic tests were done with certain magnets of 6,000 Gauss, there was significant variations. That is to say, from 333 HB that we originally had, we went to 58 HB. We're also seeing another inconsistency here, which is temperature. There comes a point when it loses stability. The sphere loses stability, and the temperature starts going up instantly from 24 up to 33 degrees centigrade. And we did certain tests, and those inconsistencies led us to think that there's something strange. There's parts where the sphere is stable, like we see it right now. We also measured the temperature of the surroundings, and through the pyrometer, we saw that it was very close to the measurement of that monitor, close to the same results. So there's an instability. It's not that stable in terms of temperature. In this video is exactly when we're talking about these inconsistencies regarding the hardness level. Do we have audio? It varies in its hardness. It's the different inconsistencies in the hardness. Here we have a measurement of 62, and here we have 64. Can you try this other side too, please? When we did the measurements, we have 791, 793, 783. There's a variation of plus minus 3%. But it's within the range, the acceptable range. Now we're doing the magnetic test. There was a high level of hardness, an extreme hardness. Then we did the analysis on iron, and after we approximated the magnets, it came back to its original hardness of 6080 Brenners. Yes, that's the inconsistency that we had regarding measurement of the hardness levels. And this happened throughout how many minutes? Throughout 5 to 10 minutes is how long the test lasted. And the hardness level never became that extreme. That's correct. We have to do further studies regarding this topic, because it could have been two different situations. One was that maybe what's in the inside of the sphere has been interfering with our electronic equipment, because it's hard to imagine, hard to understand that through a magnet the sphere would change its physical properties. So there's two paths that we have to follow there. So its weight increased, and in this case, after you approximated the magnets, the hardness level decreased, which means that what's on the inside of the sphere is directly interfering with the structure of the sphere, which makes it almost alive. We have to verify all this step by step. Within the sphere, apparently there's specific materials of different densities. For example, we ran tests on densities, and we have 0.84 grams per cubic centimeter. And if we use the reference of the density of aluminum, we know it's 2.7 grams per cubic centimeter. This leads us to believe that if this sphere was made strictly from an aluminum, it should weigh approximately 32 point some kilograms. What really helped us, Jaime, is the studies that you had done, the X-ray studies and the scanning via tomography, because we detected 3 different elements with different densities. During the microphotographic study that we made, we realized that there's a perforation as part of the aluminum so that the copper is deposited there, and so that it has physical contact with these components, which we have no idea what their function is. At the bottom part of the sphere, we see a pattern, a percussion pattern that we see as part of the moons. Only the moons, not the triangular symbols. And the etchings were made with physical tools, made from silicate carbon. And where we have the perforations or the points, this is very important, because I said, Jaime, I think we have a polymer here. And with the microphotographic study, it tells us that this polymer is protected. It's coated with an unknown material which we have not identified. Thank you, David. And finally, that would be the fiber optics, right? Yes, that's correct. It was the tests done on the fiber optics that led us to these results, which are important. And thanks to that, we were able to make the next step and detect the fiber optics. Thank you very much. I would like to share with you the following thoughts. It's my full responsibility. It's my own theory. And I've been trying to stick by scientific facts of how this sphere operates. And when I witnessed the videos, the first question I asked myself was, where's the energy source so that it levitates? Where is that energy source? Engineer Avila didn't detect any batteries. We only saw a nucleus with 3 different densities, which I would like to share with you. Go ahead. Can we see the image on screen? This nucleus that was observed, as Engineer Avila said, we can observe that there are 3 different densities that are involved. Let's let the video run a bit, and we'll have the image on screen any
El
moment.
núcleo que ustedes ven aquí,
This is the nucleus, and it's real.
esta es una imagen real.
This is an image that was made of the sphere, that was made at the university. It's
Es tomografía,
It's a
¿no?
tomography.
Pero no es de... ok, gracias por la aclaración. Bueno, ustedes pueden ver que aquí hay unas muecas
As you can see, there
que
are
son precisamente las que ustedes ven en el Ecuador.
certain holes right here that are located at the equator, which is right here, right through the center. We got the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere.
Cuando yo vi esto,
When I saw this,
dije, bueno, vuelvo a preguntarme.
I asked myself, once again, where's the energy source for it to levitate?
Entonces tuve que investigar.
Reason for which I started doing investigating how satellites have a cable and they can be charged through the cable.
De manera, créanme, incuestionable,
But
a Nikola Tesla.
I was reminded of Nikola Tesla. Nikolai Tesla experimented with his famous tower, the Wonder Clear.
Vamos a ver.
Let's see what he did.
Ustedes pueden ver que esta esfera,
As you can tell,
esta torre,
this
que ahorita vamos a explicar.
Tesla tower,
Esta, si la ven en forma vertical, ven que aquí baja
if you see it vertically,
un tubo
you can see that there's a tube that goes down the center, which is an electrical conductor. It goes underground, and we have certain pallets that are being generated with the current. It generates an electric current, and it's distributed up top.
del río que genera el movimiento de las placas.
And when the plates move, it generates the necessary charge.
Entonces,
Let's move forward.
yo me pregunté,
So then I asked myself the following.
si agarramos la torre de
What if we grabbed the Tesla tower
y la metemos,
and we inserted it
de que no hay río
into
para
the
que
sphere?
genere las
And
cargas,
since there's no river to generate those
genere las cargas,
electrical charges,
de la ciencia,
according to science, is only through friction.
fusionar los materiales.
You should
Las tres de
rub those materials together to create friction. And then I thought of this. Next image.
que al momento de generar las cargas,
When I generate electrical charge,
se generaría un campo.
we would have a field. But let's stop for a moment. Let's go back to the previous image, please.
Esas cargas,
These charges are going to be distributed throughout the sphere.
hay algo muy importante,
But there's something that is very
una
important.
propiedad en la física que
There's a physical property within physics that tells you that the addition of magnetic fields that you can add to a sphere,
se van a contrarrestar.
they will counter-rest each other. That's the Gauss law. The electrical field is equal to zero.
Si ahora la hacemos girar,
But what if we make it rotate
haya fricción.
so there's friction at the center?
Entonces al girar,
So when we start to make the sphere rotate, we start generating different fields.
detenemos un momento ahí.
Let's stop the video right there.
Entonces yo me quedé pensando,
So then I thought,
y genero
if I generate what Tesla did back in the day, generate static electricity up top,
¿me podrá funcionar eso?
would it help?
Me puse a investigar.
Would it give me more answers?
1932,
It was in 1832 that Charles Darwin,
él vio llegar a su barco arañas.
he discovered spiders on his ship, on his boat. He thought that the spiders were being transported by the wind currents,
De alguna manera,
but it was opposite from what Tesla
¿qué
knew.
es lo que pasa con esas arañas? Y se los voy a mostrar.
What really happened with those spiders going on to Darwin's ship is the following.
Vea usted cómo se disparan, pero aquí va a ver, mire usted.
You see how the spiders shoot up in the air.
Al tronco en la parte más alta del árbol,
The spider fixes itself
tiene cargas negativas.
onto the trunk, which has negative charges,
Extiende, por poder de punta se van juntando todas.
and then the static
Más carga de que hay en la
makes the spider rise because there's a difference in potential, and that's why the spiders levitate as such, and they can travel for thousands of kilometers. And the only way of having them stop is by cutting their spider webs all together. But they're using the spider web as a rail and static as a fuel,
A diferencia
which is
de otras tecnologías.
different from other types of technology that
Vamos adelante.
do have a direct control on their flight. Next slide, please.
Este principio,
Let's look at this principle with an experiment that was done at Mexico's Autonomous University. with the bandograph. If you generate a current, it will generate an electric charge which will be eventually discharged at the ground level. But if you warm it up with a flame, you realize that the sphere is generating its own static when you apply heat to it. Next slide, please. Here's the smaller sphere. We're applying heat to it. Let's go back a couple, right there. A little bit forward, please. As you can tell, when you turn on the sphere, you have electrical current, and the static goes all the way up. It could be the spiders as such, or the Google sphere itself. They are being moved due to static. Now the generator is within the sphere, and it's generating the necessary fields. There's a difference in potential with the atmosphere, and they have opposite charges. Next slide. We can do a comparison of a spider flying through the air with the Buga sphere. Look at how it's behaving. Look how they're levitating in the same fashion. So we suspect that the sphere is levitating thanks to static fields that are reacting with the atmosphere. This is the reason why if the sphere has to rotate for it to be charged up, if it touches high voltage wires, it's going to be discharged, causing disequilibrium on the inside, and it descends. Next slide. This is a turbine. I'll tell you what we are pretending to do. For a turbine to work properly, we have the Platon cycle in thermodynamics. We're talking about gases. So to achieve this, we have to put air through the turbine. The reactor comes on and the cycle starts. What we want to do, next slide please, is to help the sphere so that as the wind turbine has a starter, we can start it like a spark plug. Next one, please. Well, we got a little time left. Well, tell me, please. Yeah, we got the image of the sphere that's rotating on screen. So we place the sphere in an instrument that will make it rotate at a certain speed, revolutions per minute. If we achieve that speed, we might be able to reactivate it, turn it back on again, and make it levitate once again. But there's 4 obstacles. If we levitate it, if we do it outside and they detect it, it might float away, right? If we do it within closed doors, it's not going to fly away, right? But how do you turn it off? Number 3, thank you. This is the third problem it would present. This is the animation of the device that will make it spin. And we're going to try and prove if this theory is invalid or if it's valid. And we're basing ourselves on physical concepts. And when we start to make it spin and when we create friction on the interior of the sphere, it creates electricity, it creates static, and we assume that it will levitate. When we talk about the chip, it looks like an antenna. We're trying to detect where the resonance comes from. If we manage that, then we're going to understand this perfectly, what its impedance is. And once we know what its impedance is, we'll be able to know what its ROE is. And then if we don't do it, then we're going to remain uncertain. Those are very important aspects. One is to try and make it levitate. What would happen? That would be success altogether. We proved our theory right, and then we have to bring it back down, right? Could they take it away? Yeah, they can take it. We can't control it. We can't stop it. But if it's confined, then we could. And the other is to use the same system that you use for transmitting and receiving signals to be able to communicate with them. Yes, and point number 4, which I didn't talk about, if it's on or not, maybe it's on autopilot. If it's on autopilot, it'll never go on. And how do we know this? When we run the necessary tests. Don't worry, we'll figure a way of turning it back on. Thank you. Imagine that. Do you think it's possible? This is the reason why we need all of your support to be able to do a multidisciplinary study that is good for humanity. Here is Dr. Stephen Greer, who's been writing and talking about clean energies for many decades. And one of his greatest motivations is in anomalous aerial phenomenon. He thinks that that's the secret. That's how you tune into this clean energy that could change the history of humankind. Now, let's welcome Nacho Rojo. He's a Spanish investigator, an investigative journalist, and we want to hear his input on this phenomenon. Thank you very much for being here present. The UFO phenomenon is real. That's all I can say. Many people have done different types of experiments. Different people have witnessed UFOs all over the world. That means that we're stuck for the past 80 years. People are still seeing, witnessing, people are now filming, but we're stuck like we were 80 years ago. But when we see evidence like we have today, we think it's incredible. This can't be true. Eric Burleson, congressman, is also working with Congressman Paulina as well, and they want to make this official. We know that there's official support. Dr. Stephen Greer has been dedicating himself for many years, and he's got documents, he's got testimony, but no physical evidence per se. Our governments never present any physical evidence. Of course, NASA says that there are anomalous objects in space. We know they're there. We don't know what they are. We know they're round. Many of them are round. And recently, we witnessed a video where the orbs, the round orbs, are constantly seen in outer space. And when we have one in our possession, well, we have to become excited. We have to study it. I think that we have to separate this phenomenon in 3 different stages. One is witness testimony, one is video, and one is physical evidence. We have physical evidence, which is being analyzed through scientists. We have video as well, and our job is to analyze those images. And we have the first witness accounts who are concerned about becoming public, about saying their names out loud on TV. So ufology has not evolved over the past 80 years. Everybody has the same limiting factors. What Jaime Maussan did is open a channel on TV to be able to transmit the truth, a complete investigation, an investigation of the research, and there's still a lot more that needs to be done. You think it ends with the videos? No, it's just the beginning. When we introduce this to the world, it's the first time private citizens present the physical evidence for them to reach their own conclusions if we're alone in this universe or not. Maussan managed that. Maussan managed to gather the most serious scientists around the world in this press conference, and we hope that our American colleagues will also give seriousness to this phenomenon. We have videos, testimony, and all I can say is chaos, insecurities, threats, and Americans know this altogether. There are certain stigmas regarding the phenomenon. If I see it, if I filmed it, if I'm a first witness, we have high-quality video, and what they do is present it publicly. We think that may be very little, but it's not. And on top of that, new videos show up, new witnesses show up, new sightings appear. We have to study and analyze this through due forms. We have many different videos, and we're going to stick by scientific results. We have to take samples, we have to analyze the videos, and we have the eyewitnesses. It's an awesome video. People who did not want us to say their names. Why? They're concerned that they would be burned by society, but they decided to give their names in the end. And the first thing we need to do is see what the most rational explanation is. We have to separate all different possibilities. Italian researchers did the necessary tests on the video, and they realized it's not done by CGI, it wasn't done by artificial intelligence. That's good, but that doesn't mean that there are different forms of creating a reconstruction, right, that would assimilate this phenomenon. So I'm trying to explore all different aspects. When we talk about artificial intelligence, we know that's not it. We already analyzed the image, and then we made a model of the drone, which we hung by a string. It means that it can support a limited charge. This sphere weighs 10 kilograms. Initially, it weighed 2 kilograms. So what we did is hang it on a string and see if it could be recreated as well. And we have research studies that says that the increase in weight is perplexing. When we talk about the Brinell scale, it was talking about 330, which is twice as much as the aluminum oil that is used commercially by NASA. It increased in weight. With this explanation, maybe we can prove to the world that, visually speaking, we can see something that looks like it. But look at its movement while it's hung on a string. It doesn't act anyway like the original video. And if it weighs 10 kilos, it couldn't be lifted on a string by a drone. We know that it flies through the air. Airplanes fly through the air, drones fly through the fly, and Superman flies through the air as well, but this doesn't necessarily mean it's the same. What we are observing here is that it's going to crash against the branch, and since it's a pendulum, we know that it's going to start swinging back and forth. And what William says, what William proves, his testimony proves, that there's a similar sphere that also touched the branches. It touched the leaves. So it touched the leaves, and the movement is linear altogether. There's no alteration, like with the pendulum. We have testimony and we have the video. With the video that Jose filmed, we see the different angles where there's nothing in the vicinity. I used a 20-meter cable to hang it. We could also use a 200-meter cable as well. But movement is movement. If you have a drone with a string that's supporting the sphere, it's going to move differently, because we don't want to pay attention to the first-hand accounts. This is why Williams' account and José's videos are not done with a pendulum. Maybe we did a recreation, but I'm sticking to the tangible proof, to the tangible tests. I don't want to prove anything. I want to demonstrate the following. It originally weighed 2, then it weighed 6, and then it weighed 9 kilograms. There's different explanations, but not all of them are true. So, in conclusion, I'm sticking to scientific studies, to first-hand accounts, to eyewitness accounts, and to the physical evidence. And if there are people trying to discredit this, let's just focus on the data. It's important to focus on this phenomenon, but we've never taken this phenomenon seriously. Everybody's giving their own opinion. And when we involve serious institutions, academia, scientists, they don't want to participate. Governments don't say a word. And now that we have the leverage, we need to work on this investigative path. So what's your conclusion? Were these videos made with a drone and a string? Based on Williams' account and based on Williams' description, it was not faked with a drone or a string. And the Buga Sphere, that's Don José's video, it wasn't made with CGI or artificial intelligence, because we see different planes where there's nothing around. Now, there's different videos that will come up, but these are definitely not hoaxes. These people are giving their faces on national camera. They're risking their reputation. Let's confront this with courage. What's your conclusion? I think it's the most complete case that we have of anomalous phenomena. We have all three. We have the video, we have eyewitness testimony, and we have the physical evidence. With a purpose and with ethics, we can do a serious investigation which would lead us to many good conclusions. This is unprecedented in history. It divided the UFO community in two. It's the first time that private citizens have one of these objects in their possession, obtaining private research studies from different schools. Do we have convincing evidence that this demonstrates that it's a hoax? No, we have no evidence demonstrating that this was a hoax. We have the witnesses, we have the scientists, we have the researchers here. And who are the people that are here, courageously appearing? Thanks to your effort, Jaime, we have now marked a before and an after thanks to this investigation. Thank you, Nacho. No, thank you, Jaime. Thank you, Nacho. And thanks to all of the scientists and investigators that are participating in the right thing to do, doing the correct analysis, the correct research, the correct tests, because we have to do what's right. We need to know what this technology implicates, and one day we will reach the conclusion if it's non-human technology or not. Let's welcome Jaime Maussan for the conclusion of this press conference. The only thing I can say is that you've been first-hand witnesses in a historic event. Never before has something similar happened in all of history, in ufology. So take that home with you, think about it for a while, and feel proud that you're part of this event, which is so extraordinary, historically speaking. Before concluding, I would like to thank Alejandro Belmont, who's a close friend, who gave us this screen. It's a flexible screen, as he did. Thank you, Alejandro. And I would also like to thank these efforts to Guillermo Figueroa, Guillermo Figueroa was a producer that worked for Jaime Maussan for many decades. He passed away yesterday. We lost Guillermo yesterday. Thank you. In the name of Guillermo, I'd like to say thank you on his behalf. It's a shame that he didn't witness this event. He lived in Miami. He had cancer, and he would have been here with us, being here present. Thank you, Guillermo. Let's move on to our question and answer session. Álvaro, this is Álvaro Cueva asking the question. He would like to ask Jaime Maussan the following. What's happening in the media regarding this? When are we going to see you on mainstream news? What happened with the main broadcast? What happened with the national media outlets? I can't believe they're not paying any attention to this. You're absolutely right, and we're about to change that paradigm. I hope that Chema opens her doors so that we can start talking about this. I hope that scientists in Mexico are interested and that this stops being a joke, that this stops being a story that was made up. It's a reality, and there's serious investigators. We have a Congressman, Berles, who is present here, a scientist like Stephen Greer, and Dr. Daniel Sheehan, one of the best lawyers, constitutional lawyers throughout the world, is here with us as well. I would like to make the following comment of what you've seen. What are your impressions, please, of what you have witnessed here today? Please.
I'm here because
this is Congressman Eric Berles.
Not just the United States, but to the world. And this effort, we've been blocked in Congress. We've been blocked from receiving the briefings that we need. And so I think that it's long overdue. Look, it's not any government's right to protect any knowledge about extraterrestrial or non-human intelligence if it exists. And so we have too many people reporting things. We have too many videos coming out to ignore it. I think I have a responsibility on oversight to investigate it and do my due diligence, and that's why I'm here. And so thank you for hosting this, and I'm looking forward to seeing further scientific discovery.
Any comment about the Buga Sphere?
It's a remarkable, it's very interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing what the studies come.
Thank you very much.
Congressman Eric Berles giving his impressions.
I'm just going to make a really quick translation, please. Sorry, I'm just going to make a really quick translation to what you said. Como dijo el congresista Eric Berles,
as Congressman Eric Berles said, the reason he's here is because this is a worldwide event. It's not only interesting to the U.S. government, he's been blocked by his government to obtain the necessary hearings and the necessary data to open this topic to the world. And now he's anxiously waiting for the results on the Buga Sphere and know how much we can learn from this technology. Thank you, Congressman Eric Berles, for being here with us today. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, Jaime, for having us here. And his work has been seminal for many years. And going to go up.
This is Dr. Stephen Greer.
And I'd just like to recognize the courageous people who picked it up, brought it. Now, there have been spheres found before, and in the United States, special forces thugs go in and get them. and people have been killed possessing them. Very smart that you keep it safe and that you also disclose it. It's transparent. Everything goes out. My assessment of this is pending, but it's certainly real. It's using an energy field and what we probably would say is electrogravitic, which means a type of anti-gravity effect from the electromagnetic forces. And whether it is a purely extraterrestrial origin or a mix of an ancient human extraterrestrial development, there are 4 or 5 possibilities. And this is what we want to look at. If we can get some of the materials and do carbon dating, we can, from the polymer, then we will know how old it is. If it predates this kind of manufacture, it'll be extraordinary. So I think there's a lot of investigation. We have some really good scientists here with us who can do those research with you and confirm and help and join forces with your effort. So my own sense of this is that it's obviously real, it's anomalous. We have seen these sort of spheres before, and I just want to share, 2 days ago, we debriefed a Green Beret he was in a subterranean facility, Crane, Indiana. It's a naval weapons station, and this is a top Green Beret not many years ago. And he was taken underground, very deep, and it was shown several extraterrestrial devices, one of which had a device like a translucent, almost like a small iPad, but extraterrestrial. And it was putting up above that screen a series of letters or symbols, deep ink black. And they are on this sphere, 4 or 5 of them. It was very unusual. Now this gentleman, he didn't have any association with those symbols until he saw this sphere. And in the interview 2 days ago when we were in Los Angeles, I'm not going to disclose his name right now. His information is going to a investigation law enforcement group in the United States that I'm working with that are looking into the criminal aspects of the secrecy of this. But he said these are exactly the symbols that were floating above this device in the air, about a foot, and that they had some effect in his awareness, and he thought it had something to do with activation of DNA and consciousness, some very unusual effect. So very interesting new testimony. It was very surprising to us, and I wanted to share that with you. And so we're going to continue these investigations, but I think this is a very significant object, and the other gentleman was correct. We have 700 plus whistleblowers and people in the United States now coming forward. We have a lot of evidence. We do have some physical evidence. That wasn't correct. But something like this we have never had. Because usually these get confiscated by thugs, criminals. And so good for you. You've done great work, all of you. I'm very proud to be here with you. Thank you very much.
As Dr. Stephen Greer mentioned, he congratulates the team and for the courage that we are all showing, because people are discredited altogether. Some of the artifacts have been confiscated, and something that he mentioned is very interesting. He did a recent interview with a Green Beret, which shared in a subterranean base, that he got to see certain non-human artifacts. Some of the symbols that were projected by that artifact coincide with the symbology on this sphere. According to Dr. Stephen Greer, they have to do with genetic activation of awareness and consciousness. And that's news to us. Thank you, Dr. Greer.
Good afternoon. My name is Dan Sheehan. I am an attorney in the United States. I was one of the co-founders at Harvard Law School of the Civil Rights Law Review. We have been dedicated ever since then, in 1968, to trying to protect the rights of the people against a national security state in the United States that has been capturing all of the information, have been capturing the witnesses, have been capturing the technologies, and trying to conceal them from the people. I was fortunate enough when President Carter was elected to be invited to participate in the original investigation that President Carter launched to try to find out about the UFO phenomenon and any potential extraterrestrial intelligence, because he was informed by the national security state people in the United States that he had no right to know about this phenomenon. And one of the things that Jaime Maussan has been dedicated to his entire life is trying to get the information for the people. And that's the key to this thing. As all of the people know about Jaime, that all the way back when he was the host of 60 Minutes, when they tried to stop him from showing the people the actual videos that he had of the UFO phenomenon that came here, and stopped him, tried to stop him from showing that to the people, but he broke through and insisted upon making that information available to the people. That's why I am here. I am here from the United States as an attorney working with the investigative group that is going to be doing this, and we're going to take steps to make certain that the United States government and other national security elements around the planet cannot get custody of this technology, cannot stop us from doing an independent investigation of this technology and determining exactly what it is. And we're going to be completely professional about it. We're not making any assumptions about what it is. We know that it's not normal. This is not normal. This is moving in a particular way that has not been suspended by any balloons or any kind of craft. This is on its own, moving in a way that's in opposition to normal gravity. It's an anomalous phenomenon, and we're going to investigate it. And we're working very closely with the members of Congress. That's why Congressman Berles is here today to assure you that there are people, elected officials in all governments around the world who are dedicated to trying to get this information and be accurate about it and make it available to the people. So this investigation is beginning now. This particular device is being investigated and analyzed. You saw the videos that there's another one that's flying around that is actually active in the area here down in Colombia. That we're going to be seeing what we can do to monitor that one to determine whether or not it's actually receiving any signals, whether it's emitting any signals. We have a one here. We have the other one potentially under surveillance as soon as we can. And we're going to be making this available to the people. This is open access. This is all open access to the people. So you're here now at the beginning of this extraordinarily important investigation. We're welcoming you all into it. We're bringing the evidence to you as we gather it. And we can all thank Jaime Maussan for dedicating his life to getting this information to the people. So we're here to help him. Thank you very, very much.
Como mencionó el doctor Danny Sheehan, él fue uno de los fundadores de la Escuela Civil de la Universidad de Harvard.
He was one of the founders of the Civil Law School at Harvard. He also worked closely with President Carter when he was interested in the UFO phenomena. And he was told that the public didn't have the right to know about this. Not even the president had the right to know about this information. Dan Sheehan is going to be the constitutional lawyer that says that certain groups want to take over this sphere. We have to thank Jaime Maussan for his courage, where information is open to the public, open to society. All of you know the research that is done and the results that are obtained based on this discovery.
Seguimos con más preguntas.
Question and answer session. That was the first question. Let's move on to our next question, please.
No se escucha.
Good afternoon. My name is Eduardo González Nieto. I work for WhatsApp. I have two important questions for the engineers, David and Rodolfo. Did you do any comparative studies regarding weight, temperature, and densities of the different metals, different alloys? I want to know if you made these tests simultaneously. If the temperature went up, the density went down, right? This is a direct question to them. And my second question is for the investigators, for Dr. Stephen Greer. What's the path to follow regarding the following research? If it's only going to be made in Mexico, or are we going to share it with the U.S.?
Dr. Greer, please, if you could focus the research of the following investigation about the sphere of Buga is going to take place here in Mexico City or in the United States, or it's going to be half and half, 50-50. I don't know. That's all. Those are my questions. Thank you so much. Gracias.
Muy bien. Respondiendo a tu primera
Answering your
pregunta,
first question,
te comento que no se tienen variaciones.
there are no variations regarding the results obtained in density tests.
Ahí nosotros nos basamos
We're basing ourselves on a 3D scanning to be able to figure out the mass,
posteriormente
the volume,
con el peso.
and with its weight, we were able to determine the density. It's the density of the sphere in its entirety. Internally speaking, we detected certain components that lead us to think that there are three different types of densities that cannot be tested directly because we would have to isolate them. Thank you. It's also worth mentioning that when we ran the hardness tests, the university realized that it was divided in three parts, the southern, northern hemisphere, and the equator, but they did not find any soldering between them. It's not soldered. So the only answer is that probably that sphere was soldered from the inside out. But that's an important industrial process, because if you look at the sphere up close, it's almost impenetrable. But they must have done something. Let's move on to the second question regarding the measurement of temperature levels. I can assure you that there's no specific pattern that will tell us how often the temperature is going to go up or down. That pattern is unpredicted. It's unpredictable, as we saw in the videos. Sometimes the sphere is stable, and what I can assure you is that we also done a second test, which is called on emittivity, which has to do with luminousness. We determined that temperature due to that difference, and we did it in a test which gave us 1.8 degrees Celsius. We also measured the transference in heat from the outside into the sphere, which gave us 0.12 centigrades. This means that we can account for 2 centigrades, but we cannot account for the other 6 degrees centigrade. And the other comment that engineer Rodolfo Garrido did, based on what I have observed personally, based on the tomography and the X-ray scans, and above all knowing that it includes polymer, which is decomposed at a temperature of 76 degrees Celsius. It begins to lose weight and it starts to decompose altogether, the polymer. Let's assume that we didn't detect any determining alloy on the inside that could generate lower temperatures than those 76 degrees Celsius. This is just a theory. I'm theorizing this because we have not been able to prove that both of the hemispheres were joined by structural adhesives. You can stick plastic with plastic, you can join plastic with metal, and you can join metal with metal. And that's the most logical conclusion, but we haven't been able to prove it yet until we have structural adhesives joining those internal parts, the northern and southern hemispheres.
So in answer to your question, our team here is to confirm the research doing, to consult about further tests, and to do whatever we can do here. I think for the reason of OPSEC or operational security, it should be in Mexico and not in the United States, frankly, because I operate in the United States and it's very difficult. It's the epicenter, the global security state keeping this secret. Not that there aren't components here, but there it is a problem. So much so that members of Congress are routinely denied information. So I think that the other point is the scientific studies, what we want to do would include looking at certain isotopes that would determine if those metals appeared and were originated off-planet or on-planet. It's very difficult to do, it's expensive, but that's what we're going to try to do. We want to try to carbon date it from the polymer if we can get enough. We want to be able to also advise on certain physics tests that can be done. And the gentleman mentioned spinning it and what have you. We have some ideas about that. One thing as to remember, an extraterrestrial device is very different from a manufactured human 21st century. And here's how. They're usually of one part. The components are all seem to be melded together and appear as one, whereas a man-made object is this part, this part, this part. So there are man-made UFOs that are known as alien reproduction vehicles. We have a lot of them. We started making them. My uncle was Northrop Grumman. Lockheed has them, Raytheon. Those are parts and pieces, and they look like a manufactured object. The extraterrestrial vehicles are seamless. They tend to be similar to this. This has some differentiation, and they tend to have the functional components integrated as if it came out of a singular mold. Now, the manufacturing that's extraterrestrial involves a type of what's called trans-dimensional physics, where you set up an energy field and it aggregates the materials together and forms it as a whole, as opposed to us digging something up and welding it together in a machine shop. So we know the difference between extraterrestrial, say, manufacturing and 21st century human manufacturing. Now the question is, there have been extraterrestrial involvement with this planet for probably millions of years, certainly for millennia, and is this object from a prior extraterrestrial involvement, or even an ancient civilization that lived here that was perhaps even human or part human, that made these? This is why we want to be able to date it. If it's 5,000 years old or 2,000 years old, that's a huge bit of data, because at that point you realize, well, it can't be anything made recently, and therefore how was it made? Because aluminum has I think needs 10,000 degrees to smelt it. We didn't have aluminum till pretty recently, and other components. The other question is looking for various elements that may not be even in our periodic table. So in other words, it could have elements in it, but this is a very, very esoteric level of science and physics, where you'd have to employ very specific labs, and the labs receiving it will not know it came from this. So what we're going to do is more like a double-blind situation. The testing laboratories will have no idea the origin of it. But no, the device, I think, should remain here in secure hands. At some point, we do want to figure out the physics of it, because one of my objectives of why I left my medical career was when I realized they were keeping this cabal of fascists and sociopaths have been hiding from us, the people, the means to have free energy, no pollution, no poverty within 20 years. And look at the world that we have now, on the brink of nuclear war. It's ridiculous. So I think we can do better as a people, and that's what we hope to do. So this could be the answer. Could be, yeah.
Thank you, doctor. Bueno, muy resumido de lo que comentó el
In summary,
doctor
what Dr. Stephen Greer just said,
sí van a haber investigaciones
yes, the research will continue.
en México, la esfera
There will be
debe
research
permanecer
done
en
in the
México.
United States, but the sphere has to remain in Mexico.
Si lo mencionan en la ciencia, ¿no? Para que no sepan cuál es el origen verdadero. Y también análisis,
And
por
then
ejemplo,
specific
de
analysis of
para determinar
carbon-14 to determine how old it is, to determine if it was manufactured millennia ago or if it was recently manufactured. This is in summary of what Dr. Greer said. Let's move forward with the next questions, please. Thank you very much. Good afternoon. This question is for Mr. Maussan. Historically speaking, we know that the United States, that the government, the U.S. government, never leaves any loose ends. We have the Coyame case and we have the Roswell case, 1947. What's the main objective when we're in a historical event where the U.S. government hasn't intervened and hasn't spoken up? Let me repeat it, please. Good afternoon, Mr. Maussan. Historically speaking, we know that the U.S. doesn't leave any loose ends. Roswell, 1947, and the Coyame case here in Mexico. There's immediate intervention. What's the main objective why we have a historical event happening right now? The United States hasn't taken credit for it and hasn't intervened. This didn't happen within the United States. One of the most important things that we did is make it public.
Es guardada, al rato se va a una caja de seguridad bancaria que tenemos aquí, especial.
It's absolutely important to take good care of the sphere.
Podrían llevarse esto es que llega un comando y nos mata a todos, y ahí sí se la llevan. Pero, y aún así va a ser difícil porque tendrían que abrir la caja. Y por tanto, yo creo que más que nada es que esto se ha hecho público. Y es muy difícil bajo esas bases el poder hacer algo. Y pues lo otro es de que de alguna forma pues considero que hemos venido realizando la investigación científica que le ha dado ya la validez a esto, y también creo que aquellos que están en contra de que esto sea considerado verdad confían en que toda esta campaña que se ha dado a nivel mundial de simplemente decir es un fraude, es un fraude, es un fraude, va a permear en la mente de las personas y finalmente lo van a querer considerar así. Afortunadamente no está sucediendo, y eventos como este que está ahora ocurriendo aquí le están dando la validez. La presencia de nuestros invitados también se la da. La presencia de ustedes, medios de comunicación nacionales e internacionales, también le da una gran validez. Creo yo que en este momento ya está fuera de las manos de aquellos que quisieran que esto no trascendiera.
ya trascendió. Y ojalá y que ustedes, amigos de los medios, nos ayuden a que trascienda aún más. No se pregunten si esto es cierto o no lo es. Esto es verdad. Y están ustedes ante un evento histórico. Si ustedes como periodistas no
This is a historical event. This is absolutely authentic. This is a good for society. Unfortunately, there are certain media outlets that will discredit, and certain media outlets that should not even get involved with this. We're getting close to scientific institutions that originally didn't want to get involved with this. But with the support of the people that are here present, we're going to achieve our results of making the truth known to the citizens of the world. Never before had something like this happened. This is very important. Thank you. I would also like to add, you're absolutely right. Last question. Just one last observation, if you don't mind. We're living in different times now. Social media has accelerated everything. Automatically, now what people do is discredit the person, the case, the videos. So it's disinformation. It's a fact that they're using disinformation tactics from the ground up. And that's why they die. These types of cases disappear altogether. But through scientists that are courageous, through researchers who've shown courage, we can obtain these types of data and transmit it to the people. There are certain media outlets that is controlled and they don't want the truth to get out. That's why we now have our own television channel. No one can tell us to be quiet. Any last questions? I'm so excited. I'm excited as a Mexican. I feel proud because we are uniting the world. It's the first time I see that science unites the world. We have serious scientists from different countries here today, supported by Rodolfo Garrido, supported by Jaime Maussan, by important Congress people, by important researchers from the United States. And this is what we want, a multidisciplinary program that can support this type of investigation that will transcend. We're producing a special program where we're going to be focusing on innovative technology. Well, we have a show called Tercer Milenio. Then we have a new show that's called 24/7. We have a morning magazine as well. And we're going to keep the public updated. I reiterate, we now have an open television channel which will allow us to communicate the truth about these types of phenomena, something that was not previously possible. For example, I would like to thank all of the major television studios like Televisión Azteca, Televisa, and I hope they can transmit this message. De la Universidad Metropolitana. This is
about the design and the glyphs on it. David, you mentioned that they were hand-drawn potentially with tools. Is there any more information on how that was done and also the significance of the glyphs in the design? You can also take it.
Que si hay más información de cómo fueron fabricados estos signos, estos símbolos.
Que si fueron hechos a mano.
Sí. Y el diseño y la forma.
Estos símbolos, como
these symbols, as I mentioned previously, they were first drawn onto the sphere, and then we started etching into them. which obviously gives it a different level. And then we polish them. They polish them. They were made manually. They were handwritten. And this takes us to any given possibility. Well, highly advanced civilizations that have this type of technology, on the other hand, are returning to basic steps. They're going back to the drawing board and moving forward with technology that is not damaging to the earth or damaging to the environment. We have to determine how old it is. We have to figure out if it's recent or it's been around for many years. And this is through testing. If it was recently manufactured, that means that these types of civilizations have evolved to the stage that they're returning to basic steps without leaving behind technology. It's highly innovative, but it's basic at the same time. We'll reach the truth with the help of all of you. Thank you very much. I hope that you found this press conference interesting. I have one more thing to add. We are impressed by the simplicity in physics. He keeps repeating this over and over. I can't believe this. I can't believe how simplistic this sphere is, physically speaking. Who knows their material will explain it properly. Maussan, I'm the representative from Colombia, and there's many people who are asking me if Colombia could have the opportunity of analyzing the sphere in Colombian territory. Of course, yes. It descended in Colombia, and I think eventually it'll go back to Colombia. But the first thing we need to do is finish with all the investigations. We don't know how long that will take, but there will be the possibility for the sphere to return to Colombia. Thank you very much. We're going to take the official photograph, and then you're welcome to take photographs if you wish. So if you want, please come up to the stage. We're going to take a group photograph right now. Please come up to the stage.
Difícil que se lo sí, si quieres.